What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the first edition of my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for week one. It's finally arrived. We're at the first week of the NFL season, and I cannot wait for it to get started. Now, before I dive into my top waiver wire targets, I do want to let you guys know I am a big believer that you should trust your draft, trust the guys that you have on your bench. You shouldn't be trying to just replace them right after you draft them, especially. I usually try, it's mainly because I trust the guys I drafted. Usually I'm drafting high upside guys. I think this is going to provide me value at some point later in the year, so I'm willing to be patient with them. But again, there are scenarios where if you drafted Jonathan Taylor, you should be able to place him on your IR spot as long as your league does offer that, and you can replace him with a waiver wire guy. And then obviously we have some concerns right now over Cooper Kupp and Travis Kelce that I will speak about in my waiver wire section. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Just like I've always done in years past, I'm going to give you guys my quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex ad of the week. All 5 of these players have to have at least 50% roster availability, and that's per the Yahoo leagues. With that being said, I'm going to start with the quarterback position as I've always done, and that's going to be Bryce Young. He's available in 81% of the leagues. This one's more for an upside play if you really don't trust your quarterback. Right now, maybe you drafted a older veteran to start the year, but you're kind of like, I don't know if he's going to provide me long-term value. If you do have maybe a guy you did draft, you're already willing to consider moving on, and you don't really love your quarterback's upside, he's a guy I would be willing to take a chance on just because I'm such a believer in what Bryce Young can be in this league. As far as this week's matchup, they are going against the Falcons. I kind of think spoiler alert, the Falcons, I'm going to speak about them later. With that being said, they still got some questions in their cornerback groups outside of AJ Terrell. They brought in Jesse Bates as a safety, but it's still going to be like their first real legit game as a secondary. So there could be some communication error issues or errors that happen throughout the game where Bryce Young and Frank Wright can take advantage of that. And maybe if you want to play Bryce Young, he could be a sneaky play this week. My running back out of the week, it's going to be Devin Achane, the rookie running back for Miami. He's available in 51% of the leagues. I do like his matchup this week. I think he's worthy of a flex play. They are going against the Los Angeles Chargers, and what makes him a really good ad at this point is Jeff Wilson is on IR, so he's out for a minimum of 4 games. So it's just going to be Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane that should be splitting and dominating the most of the touches. And if Achane could take advantage of that, where he provides that more explosive element to the Dolphins' rushing attack, then he could start carving himself out even a larger role, where even when Wilson would come back, he could still provide you value throughout the season. And like I said, the Chargers defense last year, they struggled against the run. They brought in some pieces. We'll see if that helps fix that issue. But with that being said, I still think he's worth a flex play if you pick him off your waivers this week. My wide receiver ad of the week, I'm going with Van Jefferson. He's available in 81% of the leagues. He's going against the Seahawks. And just like I mentioned the name earlier, it's Cooper Kupp. It sounds like Cooper Kupp could have a nagging hamstring injury. I'm leaning toward we'll see more confirmation on this later in the week, but to me, it sounds like he's going to miss week 1. And then hamstring issues going into the season is never really the greatest thing for a wide receiver. That's stuff that can flare up throughout the year and help him, which could cause him to miss games. So with that being said, if Cooper Kupp's out of the lineup, Van Jefferson more than likely is going to see the most targets in this passing attack for Los Angeles. Now they're going against Seattle, who's Devin Witherspoon, number 5 overall pick, their cornerback. He's he's going to be missing this game due to injury, and so is Jamal Adams, their starting safety. So there's a couple pieces missing in that secondary. Matthew Stafford's fully healthy, right? I don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to stay healthy throughout all 17 games, but he's healthy now. So if Kupp's out, and we know he's 100% healthy. I know he's going to target Jefferson a lot. I would not be surprised if Jefferson gets double-digit targets. So if you're a Cooper Kupp manager right now and you're kind of like, oh man, I'm going to miss him. If you don't really trust any of the depth on your wide receiver depth on your bench right now, I think Jefferson's a very good play for you. Moving in to the tight end out of the week, I'm going with Greg Dulcich against the Raiders. Dulcich, it's available in 59% of the leagues. Now, that Broncos passing attack took a hit over the preseason. Tim Patrick's done for the year. Jerry Jeudy's out for a few weeks. I think he's out for at least the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. So they got Cortland Sutton. They got the guy I like in the rookie Marvin Mims Jr. They got a couple other tight ends, but this is a matchup where I could see Greg Dulcich getting at least the second most targets in this game in that passing attack, going against a defense that I really don't think that's great in my opinion, and they have struggled covering tight ends in the recent years, so I could see the Broncos offense taking advantage of that. So if you're a Travis Kelce manager, which the news that came out today, I'm sure you guys have all heard it by now, but it does sound like he hyperextended his knee. His ACL's fine, the last report I read. They're going to test out his knee and then determine if he'll play Thursday night, but with it being a long season, it's just the game number one. The worst thing that they could do is put him out there when he's less than 100%, and he just makes the injury a lot worse than what it is right now, and he has to miss the whole season or a more chunk of time if he would just maybe miss a game or two to start the year. So yeah, if you end up getting the news tomorrow that Kelsey's going to be out of the lineup and Dulcich is available on your waivers, I would highly consider getting him in your starting lineup for this week. And my other out of the week, my flex out of the week, I am going to go with Jaylen Warren. He's available in 51% of the leagues. Now, I will say this. He's not a guy you're going to pick up and play right away, even if the matchup is right. With that being said, I don't like the rushing matchup for the Steelers running backs against the 49ers defense this week. But with that being said, if you're a Najee Harris manager and you don't really, if you got a running back on your bench right now that you're kind of like, he's kind of questionable, yeah, I would go replace him with Jaylen Warren, because then you got your premium handcuff for Harris if anything happens to Harris. Warren is going to have a role in this offense, and if Harris for whatever reason cannot hold that number one spot on the depth chart, also Warren could also end up carving out a larger role as the season goes along. So yeah, definitely a guy you should pick up if you're a Harris manager. But if you're a guy that has questionable running back depth, or maybe you take Jonathan Taylor and you're going to place him on your IR and you're looking at the running backs that are available, Jaylen Warren's a name I would highly consider. Moving into my top streamable defenses, and just like all the 5 players I just talked about, these defenses have to have at least 50% roster availability, and this is per the Yahoo leagues. And I will say this, I also understand there are drafts still going on. I got a draft coming up here within the next hour, and then I got another draft tomorrow. So I did a video a couple weeks ago talking about defenses you should leave your draft with, and my defense was the Commanders. So if they are out there, I would go grab them, but they don't qualify for my rules. They had like 63 or 4% owned on roster, so people are paying attention to that matchup in week 1. With that being said, this defense was on the video I did a couple weeks ago. It's going to be the Jaguars defense, who's available in 72% of the leagues, going against the Colts, and it's mainly because they're going against Anthony Richardson, who's a rookie quarterback. I'm a big believer in what Anthony Richardson could be, but I always go back to this with rookie quarterbacks in week 1. I remember this every year. It's something I always highlight. Andrew Luck against the Chicago Bears in his first game threw 3 interceptions. It's their first time in real NFL action, compared to the college level of speed, compared to the preseason level of speed. It's a whole new beast that they're going to have to overcome. And, Anthony is going to have his ups and downs as a passer this year. So I could see the Jaguars defense maybe taking advantage of some rookie mistakes and getting some turnovers for you. My second streamable defense, I'm going with the Vikings, who are available in 95% of the leagues. They're going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Reason why here is the Vikings are at home, so they always traditionally play well. They're going against Baker Mayfield, who has thrown a lot of interceptions over the last 3 years. I really don't necessarily love the Bucs offensive line, so I can see like Danielle Hunter and Marcus Davenport, their defensive front, getting after Baker, where they can create those sacks and turnover opportunities. So I definitely think the Vikings could be a sneaky streamable defense this week. Moving into the next one, I gave that spoiler earlier. The Falcons defense, who's available in 94% of the leagues, going against the Panthers. And everything I said about Anthony Richardson, same thing goes for Bryce Young. He's a rookie quarterback. As much as I believe in Bryce Young, he's going to make some mistakes throughout the year, and more likely he's going to make more of the most mistakes in Week 1. So that's something that you could take advantage of. And then the Panthers' offensive line doesn't really give you any hope entering the year, and the Falcons got like Grady Jarrett up front that can get after the quarterback and create some havoc. They also got other guys scattered throughout that defensive front that they can get after the quarterback and get those sacks for you as well. And then my number 4, sticking in that same game, going with the Panthers defense against the Falcons. The Panthers are available in 89% of the leagues. And I just kind of view Desmond Ridder as a rookie quarterback entering this year. He only played in 4 games last year, so games-wise, he's still kind of, technically he's in a rookie part of his career. So with that being said, he still is going to have his learning moments. And then the Panthers, they do got guys up front. Now, assuming Brian Burns, whatever contract situation, that news that popped up yesterday, assuming that gets settled, which I believe it should and would, by Sunday, I believe he'll be suiting up. We'll have to see. But he's the guy that can get pressure on Desmond Ridder and help create that sacks for that defense. But they also got guys like Jeremy Chin, Shaq Thompson, Frankie Luvu, guys that can create havoc too within their respective positions on that defense. And then my number 5, I'm going with the Packers defense. They're available in 66% of the leagues against the Bears offense. Now, I am in the belief that the Bears offense should be improved this year with Justin Fields in year 3 and the addition of DJ Moore. But with that being said, their offensive line had question marks entering this year, and then Tevin Jenkins, their second-year offensive lineman, got placed on IR. He's out for 4 games, and he was their better offensive line in a questionable unit. And then you look at the Packers defensive front, who has Kenny Clark, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary. Those are guys that can disrupt the pocket and get after Justin. So as long as they don't allow Justin to break off some big runs and force him to kind of stay in the pocket and collapse it on him, I think there's going to be some sacks there for the Packers defense. And they got like Jair Alexander and some guys in that secondary, Rasul Douglas, that can get their hands on interceptions if Justin throws any errant throws. So that is the first edition of my top waiver wire ads and streamable defenses for week 1. If you guys have any questions about guys on waivers or streamable defenses that you may consider, get in my comment section, ask the questions, and I'll get right back to you as soon as I can. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow me on all my platforms, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I got my YouTube channel, TikTok, you name it. With that being said, you guys will see me tomorrow night. I'll be doing my top starts and sits for week 1. We're almost there. These next 48 hours just fly by, right? I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Peace out.